I've been rocking the Galaxy S8 for over 2 weeks now, and I have a pretty confident idea of what it does best and also what could be improved. I've narrowed down my selection to just 5 pros and 5 cons, so let's jump right in. Let's start with the pros. The overall design of this phone is fantastic. I think this is the best selling point Samsung has on the Galaxy S8, as it definitely stands out from the crowd of rectangular designs. Compared to last year's model, which was considered to be the best looking phone of 2016, and the Galaxy S8 makes the S7 look like yesterday's smartphone. It feels pleasant in the hand with an all-glass encasing, the curved edges on both sides of the phone feel natural and make it seem like a solid glass pebble. And the new take on a tall design versus a wider one makes it great for one-handed use even if you don't have big hands. Since it is all glass, I do recommend picking up a skin from Dbrand, as you probably don't want this precious phone to have a not so precious crack. Plus, it doesn't take away the look of the phone like a case does, and they have some pretty nice designs such as this marble finish. I'll drop a link down below if you're interested. Anyways, for now, this is definitely the best looking phone as of early 2017. One of the new trends in 2017 is to have tiny bezels with a tall screen, which makes for a great full screen experience when watching some videos and also shows you more information within the interface without having to scroll down as much. That being said, a Samsung flagship always carries plenty of pixels, so it has a Super AMOLED Quad HD panel with a resolution of 2960 by 1440. Holy shit. It does ship with 1080p, but you can easily change it within the display settings. It gets really bright, colors are vivid, sharp, and saturated when using adaptive display within screen mode, but you can change it to basic for a more accurate tone. Viewing angles are excellent, blacks are very deep and whites are very white, and it can also get really dim for nighttime situations. I would also like to note that the edges are not too excessive like the S7 Edge. When using the S7 Edge, even though it looked cool, one of my gripes was that the display was a little too sharp, making it somewhat difficult to hold without my palm or fingers touching the edge of the screen. The S8 fixes this problem by not overly curving the design and still allowing my hand to comfortably rest on the sides without any accidental interactions on the panel. With all that being said, this is the best display on a smartphone yet. Turning to the software, TouchWiz has come a long way, and with Samsung's latest release of Grace UX on Android 7.0, it provides a good experience. I will say there are a few things they could improve upon, which I will discuss in the cons section, but for now the entire interface looks very clean. Navigating throughout this UI is quick and easy with almost any unremovable bloatware or unnecessary features to hold you back, and most of the new features are really useful. A significant change is the implementation of virtual navigation keys, so you can finally get rid of that recent home back order and go back to the traditional back home recent sequence. I also enjoy how the home button is always on even when the screen is locked, and has a pressure sensitive area like the iPhone's 3D Touch to know when to unlock the phone or not do anything at all. The home screen has that nougat styled swipe up gesture to get into the app drawer, which I enjoy, but I did find it to be a bit rugged on the animations when opening the app drawer or swiping to the Bixby panel, so I still switched to Nova Launcher for a smoother experience and more customization. Edge panels got improved with features from the Note such as Smart Select to create a GIF or take an oval screenshot whenever you'd like. The Snap window, which is Samsung's version of split screen, has great functionality to let you take advantage of that tall display effortlessly. Bluetooth 5.0, which no other smartphone has, brings in some great advantages for going wireless, such as playing audio through 2 Bluetooth speakers at once, and separate app sound to make sure that my Spotify media is the only thing playing on my Bluetooth speaker while everything else plays through my phone speaker. There's plenty of new features that are useful, but I left out a couple for the sake of time. But you can check out Zach's full review on the S8 if you want to know more about the software. In my opinion, I enjoyed this new version of TouchWiz. Plenty of useful features and a clean, attractive interface. The camera on the back is another pro. Even though they stuck with most of the same specs found on the Galaxy S7, it's still a shooter that, if you remember, many thought was amazing. It's even been improved with an updated sensor and better image processing to increase picture quality. Pictures in both bright and low light situations look fantastic with great detail, contrast, color accuracy, and a smoother tone. I will say that Samsung's HDR is not as good as Google's HDR+, as you'll still get blown out highlights in rare situations, and it doesn't shoot photos and launch the app as fast as I expected, even though it has the new Spectre ISP from the Snapdragon 835 chip. Aside from that, the camera is still a great shooter overall as expected, and no matter what situation you may be in, the pictures you will take will come out looking solid. The last top feature has to do with the battery life. Now keep in mind that I've only been using the Galaxy S8 without the Plus, and not everyone will use this phone the same way, so your battery impressions may differ from mine. Either way, I'm very satisfied with the battery. It may not give you insane results like the Moto Z Play, but for me it would easily last an entire day with heavy usage, 4 to 5 hours of screen on time to be exact. That's pretty good considering it only has 3000 milliamp hours and I usually have Bluetooth, GPS, and always on display enabled at all times, as well as the brightness turned almost to the max. The S8 Plus has an extra 500 milliamp hours, so if you're looking for that extra juice, you can move your eyes towards that model. Not to mention that it also has USB Type-C, Samsung's adaptive fast charge technology based on Qualcomm's Quick Charge 2.0, and fast wireless charging so you can get a full charge pretty quickly. Overall, the battery handles all these high-end specs pretty well. Let's switch it over to the cons of the device. Just keep in mind that some of these are a bit nitpicky, so they are undesirable features, but nothing that will make you believe that the S8 is a horrible device. With such a massive display, the fingerprint sensor couldn't be placed on the front, so instead it went on the back, but in a very controversial spot, right next to the camera lens. I gave it a shot and tried to see if I could get used to it, but I couldn't stop smudging the camera lens. Aside from the placement, it's not a bad sensor. It recognizes my finger well, but it's definitely not as fast as the OnePlus 3T scanner. It's more on par with the Google Pixels. Now this next con is not even Samsung's fault, just something to consider when getting such a tall display. With an aspect ratio of 18.5 by 9, a lot of third-party apps and videos are going to have black bars on the edges. You could manually set it to full screen within the settings, and sometimes it fixes the problem, but other times it doesn't. Now the S8 is not the only phone that does this. The LG G6 has the same problem, and it's not just a couple apps, but several. So for now, just keep in mind that this new era of tall displays will bring in some incompatible scaling to certain apps, but it's just a matter of time before developers hop on and fix this problem within their app. I'm sure most of you were expecting Bixby to be on the worst list, and so it is. Bixby, for those of you who are not familiar, is a big feature on the Galaxy S8, which even has its own dedicated hardware button. Now Bixby is broken up into 3 different categories: Bixby Home, Bixby Reminders, and Bixby Vision. They're all features we've seen before on Google or third-party apps, except it's just a Samsung iteration and no one asked for. Bixby Home is like your Google Now feed showing you the weather, news from Flipboard, calendar events, and even integrates third-party apps such as Twitter, Spotify, Facebook, Giphy, and more. It looks clean and for the most part it does work. But my only gripe is that you're limited to Samsung apps such as their browser, email, calendar, themes, and no integration of Google apps, which is what most others and I base their life around. Don't get me wrong, it could work for some people, but the majority will just ignore it. Bixby Reminders, guess this, lets you set reminders including based on time or location. There's plenty of other apps and services that do this much better and have more powerful features, so unless you have Bixby Home, I also don't see anyone using this. Finally, there's Bixby Vision, which is just like Google Goggles, letting you use the camera app to identify certain objects and find more information on that product and scan QR codes. The idea is amazing, the implementation needs work. It works best when the object has text, as it can just search it up on the web, but other times nothing comes up, or it identifies the object as something completely different. For example, it found books and packages with plenty of details pretty well, but it also thought the Google Pixel was an iPhone, which is kind of ironic. Overall, Bixby is a hit or miss situation. It may work for some people, but for the most part, it needs work. The Galaxy S8 ships with Android 7.0, which is already a step behind on the idea of frequent software updates. Samsung took over 6 months to release an Android Nougat update on the Galaxy S7 in the US, and so far it has only arrived on certain carrier variants. It hasn't even arrived on the unlocked model sold in the US, and it's been over 8 months since the official release of Android Nougat. I could be wrong, maybe Samsung will finally change their software tactics, but out of the box, it's not looking so good for the S8. Finally, the Galaxy S8 retails for $750 here in the US, which is one of the more expensive smartphones you can buy, and I'm not even mentioning the S8 Plus, which costs $100 more. It is justifiable considering it has the best processor, design, display, and a great camera, software, and somewhat decent battery results, but is there really $300 more hardware on the S8 than a OnePlus 3T, or $100 more hardware than a Google Pixel? Probably not, but I think they have a better chance of convincing a customer to buy their phone than say Google that this phone is worth every penny. Well, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what feature you enjoy or hate on the Galaxy S8. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Check out AndroidPolice.com for some great Android news, and I will see you guys in the next one.